Whether you call it the Super Bowl of AI, AI Woodstock, or the Jensen Show, NVIDIA GTC has proven to be one of the most pivotal moments in enterprise AI each year. Massive AI developments, transformative announcements, and incredible innovation. But amidst that excitement are strong signals that enterprise IT leaders need a robust strategy for scaling AI. And we're not just talking about massive computing power. AI needs seamless networking, bulletproof security, and an infrastructure that can actually handle the next wave of autonomous systems. That's why I'm excited for today's conversation between a trio of AI experts. I'll be talking to Kevin Deierling, Senior Vice President of Networking for NVIDIA, Cisco's Senior Vice President and GM of Data Center and Provider Connectivity, Kevin Wollenweber, and my colleague here at WWT, Neil Anderson, who leads our Cloud, Infrastructure, and AI Solutions team as Vice President. Between the three of them, we'll unpack how enterprises can build high-performance AI infrastructure, seamlessly integrate networking and cloud solutions, and overcome the biggest challenges in scaling AI from pilot to production. Whether you're looking to optimize your data center, enhance connectivity, or future-proof your IT strategy, this conversation will deliver key insights you won't want to miss. This is the AI Proving Ground podcast from Worldwide Technology. Everything AI, all in one place. Today, we're diving deeper into what unfolded at NVIDIA GTC, so let's get to it. Okay, well, Neil, Kevin, and another Kevin, thank you so much for joining. I know we're recording this actually week of NVIDIA GTC 2025, which is equal parts exciting, but certainly a busy schedule. So thank you to the three of you for joining in what I'm sure is a slammed calendar for you this week.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Well, let's dive in. Certainly NVIDIA GTC, a visionary conference each and every year. This year, thus far, no different. I'm curious, just initial reactions. What have you seen from around the show floor? What did you think about Jensen's keynote? Neil, we can go ahead and start with you. Any observations on what's transpiring there at GTC?
Well, as usual, Jensen's keynote was just incredible. I mean, the picture that he paints about where AI is going it's just absolutely astounding. I was in a watch party yesterday, and I tell you, everybody is just on the edge of their seats listening to every word. Just an incredible vision that he paints. What's also clear is it's moving so fast. It's very difficult for people to keep up with the technology. Just the speed of innovation that's happening at NVIDIA, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think just to pick up on pace of innovation, and then just we're still at the infancy of where a lot of this is going. And so a lot of the discussion around where we're taking this, where things are going as we get into agentic AI and then physical AI, there's still decades of innovation to come, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and Kevin Deierling, obviously with NVIDIA, perhaps some of this or all of it, not a big surprise to you, but from the inside looking out, what did you think, or what are you thinking thus far of NVIDIA GTC?
You're right. I got to see a lot of the things that were going to be announced on sort of paper, and we were talking about it. But I got to say, I was up there close at the GTC and the SAP Center, and I was jacked. I mean, I was pumped up watching this thing transpire. And, as Neil said, and as Kevin said, this thing is moving so fast. And this is the year of inference. We've been focused on training for a long time. And this agentic reasoning, Jensen walked through how much more complex it's going to be than people thought. This is not a one-shot world. We're not going to be hallucinating. We're going to be thinking. And there's a tremendous amount of activity. So we're super excited to have partners like Worldwide Technologies and Cisco to bring this to market, because it's not easy. And we need good partners. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to go fast, you can go by yourself, but to go far, it really takes an ecosystem and a partnership. Kevin Wollenweber, I'm curious from your side. We've seen a lot lately coming out of the NVIDIA and Cisco partnership, and of course, more news coming out this week as well. Give us a little glimpse into how that partnership is evolving and what it means for enterprise IT leaders and AI practitioners as they try to advance their strategies.
Yeah, I think Kevin hit it perfectly. If you look at the last couple of years of generative AI, a lot of the spend and a lot of the growth has been in building and training the large models, and where that's necessary and we need that in the market. what we're seeing now is how enterprises are going to consume those models, and really what Kevin referred to as inference. And so as our enterprises start to think about taking these models, leveraging their own data, and building solutions that they can go and leverage and grow, bringing AI applications, AI workloads, and AI technologies into the enterprise IT ecosystem is something that we're extremely happy to partner with NVIDIA and partners like WWT to deliver. So taking our kind of security, networking, and infrastructure technologies, along with our ability to go and address those enterprises and bring in the NVIDIA technologies, is what this partnership's all about.
Yeah, Kevin Deierling, add to that. What are you seeing from your end there? And why is the power of Cisco plus NVIDIA more powerful than just one on your own?
Yeah, it's interesting. NVIDIA is a company that builds really the whole stack. We combine hardware and software and networking, and Jensen talked through that. There was a super exciting announcement on Dynamo, which was a load balancing and a router. It's really Jensen referred to it as the operating system of the AI data factory, and that's important. Now, the question is, how do we deliver that? How do we help support customers? How do we let them use that? Because having a bunch of technology is fantastic, but we rely on partners to actually take that to market, to support customers, to let them use these things in a way that's super valuable to them. And some of these use cases, the wedding planner use case, sort of shocking that you got a great model and it can't figure out how to sit 7 people around a table, and yet it got it wrong. So we need this agentic reasoning. Things are going to get even more interesting and sophisticated, and we need partners that can make that complexity simple. It needs to be simple for customers to use. And so Cisco and Worldwide, fantastic partners to go make that happen.
And I think actually adaptable too, right? If you think about it, a year ago, I loved how Jensen put it. A year ago, we didn't realize what compute was going to be required for inference to really be successful in enterprise. And with the advancement we've seen in the model building and in reasoning models and in all the mixture of experts and chain of thought and reasoning, we've transformed our opinion of what we need to go out and build these. So we need partners that can not only deliver these technologies, but we need to be adaptable. And so that's where we bring in people like WWT as well, just to help us in building flexible, scalable, and simple to use infrastructure with our large enterprise customer.
Yeah, Neil, jump in there a little bit and follow up. We're on the front lines of what we're seeing with enterprise organizations and companies all around the world. What is that Cisco NVIDIA relationship signaling for you? And then what role does WWT play in all this in terms of making it a reality?
Yeah, we're incredibly fortunate. We obviously we're scaling with NVIDIA as a partner. We've been a longtime partner of Cisco as well. As this moves from training models and the very large hyperscale kind of AI infrastructures to private enterprise, what better partnership? For us, it's a dream come true. It's NVIDIA and Cisco working together, because our enterprise customers trust Cisco in their data center. And so for us to be able to bring those two technologies together into a single stack for customers is just absolutely a dream come true for us. I think it's really going to resonate with our customer base, and it's just a great move for both companies. And we're very fortunate to be at the center of that, trying to triangulate the complexity that Kevin, you talked about with customers. It is complex, and Jensen talked about that yesterday. It's not simple. But we're learning as fast as we can from both of our partners, NVIDIA and Cisco, about how to bring this together and really simplify it for customers.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. And a year ago, there were really 3 big myths about how to use AI inferencing. The first was it's going to be easy. It's one shot. The second was we're going to put that on a single node. We don't even need networking. And the third is we don't need to think about data center scale for optimization. All of those are wrong. We had the DeepSeek moment where people came out and said these new reasoning models, it was fantastic. The market thought it was terrible. And, we'll get over that. But the reality is we're excited that inferencing and the KV cache is being compressed by 10x, because we're going to use 100x more inferencing. So we're doing 100 times the amount of tokens in these reasoning models internally to generate, answers that are correct and be able to do tasks. It's no longer just about, asking questions and getting answers. It's about doing things for people so that they can become more efficient to do their job. And to make that happen, we need to hide all of that complexity networking. We made some announcements on Dynamo with storage partners as well, and that's really exciting. So bringing that all together, that's not something NVIDIA does. We build a reference architecture, but actually making it work when you actually hit the customer's site and how they're going to deploy that in, hybrid cloud, on-prem, in colos, all of that is hard. And so that's a great thing to have partners like WWT and Cisco to make it easy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that 100 times inferencing aspect there. That was certainly part of Jensen's keynote. Was we're at an inflection point right now in the data center. Neil, before we dive into some more of the announcements, I'm hoping maybe articulate a little bit about what that inflection point is in the data center. Where are we coming from? Where are we going? And what do we need from an IT architecture standpoint to ensure that we have flexibility, adaptability, and scalability to meet the needs of AI?
Yeah, I think when we think about traditional data center workloads that are kind of compute focused, it's not quite as critical. You can kind of make your storage architecture decision and your compute architecture decision network, and then it can kind of come together. But with AI workloads, I think it's far more critical that all three of those have to be tightly integrated and working together to bring the scale to the problems that we're talking about here. So where I see the enterprise data center going is that first of all, they're trying to understand it. They're trying to follow the speed of all these technology changes. But every customer I talk to, this is squarely on their radar. They know they've got to transform their data center into an AI-ready data center. And, it's going to be quite a journey for them, but we're here trying to help them along that journey as best we can.
Yeah, Neil, I think that's perfect because when we start to compare against what we see in the traditional data center and traditional workloads, although the AI data center has all the same components like networking and storage and compute, they have to work together as a single system. And so when we think about taking those components that we've been leveraging for large training models and other things in hyperscale and bringing them into enterprise, we have to bring solutions that enable all these things to work together as an entire system. And that's really what a lot of the technologies we launched this week are about.
Yeah, and what's great about that and the WWT AI Proving Ground, in any reasonably complicated system, if you haven't tested it, it doesn't work. And so it's fantastic that we've got the proving ground there to build these things out, put it together, test it, get everything optimized, make sure it's efficient and secure. So that's going to be a huge thing that we have to make AI secure as well. So fantastic to have that lab and be able to bring those things up and test things out so that it does work when we go and hit the customers.
Yeah, and we appreciate
thanks for that shout out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin,
Neil, just for those out there listening, level set for our viewers and listeners on what exactly the AI Proving Ground is, what its purpose is, and what it can accomplish on behalf of any organization exploring AI.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this problem coming. The complexity is there. There's going to be a lot of different options for customers. What model are they starting with? How many GPUs do they need? Are you doing inferencing? Are you doing something else like computer vision or digital twin technology, right? What storage do I need? What's best? Can I use the storage I already have, or do I need something much more optimized? What does the networking look like for me? And bringing those together in a place like the Proving Ground, that is exactly the questions we're trying to help customers with. We do research there. We have some answers. We don't have every answer for AI. Sometimes we just have to go, hey, okay, that's an interesting use case. Let's go in the lab and do some research together with a customer and figure it out for them, right? And the aim of the Proving Ground is really for experimentation, but also help customers get on that journey faster, right? The less that they're spending time in their own cycles doing their own testing and things like that, we can get them onto really delivering outcomes for their business. That's ultimately what the Proving Ground's about.
Yeah, and to either Kevin, build upon that a little bit. How do you view the AI proving ground as it relates to getting some of your solutions, whether it's joint or on your own, in the hands of customers so that they can test it out, get comfortable with it, and start deploying?
So I was going to say, we've got a lot of storage partners, for example, and that was one of the elements. We don't build the full stack. We actually test it out with various partners. We validate things, but then customers have choice. They can move across different storage vendors. I think we had 10 storage vendors that we included yesterday in what we were announcing here at GTC. Being able to test that and make sure that it all works and that things are properly sized, that you have the network configurations all worked out. You don't want to go roll something out for the very first time on a customer site and spend weeks to bring it up, because you're spending money. You want to be able to start running your workloads, and there's all kinds of workloads. That's what the customers want to focus on, is those AI workloads, and start getting the benefits of the efficiency gains of having AI think and help to do tasks for businesses. And the faster you can get there, the better off you are. So having a proving ground is a great way to actually test this, validate things, get everything running, and then move quickly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been out to the Worldwide Technologies headquarters. I've seen the AI proving grounds, and their ability to get new technology in the network quickly, or in the proving ground quickly, so that we can demonstrate it to customers, so that we can make sure that whatever the customers want to go and deploy at maturity and scale is the right set of things. And these are not low cost technologies to go and deploy. There's a lot of complexity in getting these things out there, and so the ability to actually see, feel, and know that the solution you're building is exactly what you want before you go and deploy it at scale is critical. And getting Worldwide Technologies to put these technologies in quickly and get them in the hands of customers as fast as possible is a real benefit to both Cisco and NVIDIA.
Yeah, Kevin, sticking with you here for a bit, let's talk about how Cisco is kind of evolving. We talk about some of the solutions that Cisco may have in the AI proving ground, but let's talk about how Cisco has been evolving over the last 6-12 months to meet the demands of AI, and kind of maybe what some of the solutions coming out of GTC are that are really going to help enable our enterprise clients tackle the complexities of AI.
Yeah, definitely. And so we've been engaged with some of those large hyperscale networks for the last few years. We build silicon technologies, we build networking technologies. What we've announced in this expanded partnership with NVIDIA is actually bringing together the best of both of those worlds, and being able to take NVIDIA's investment in AI technologies, their GPUs, their smart NICs, and bring them into our compute portfolio. Do some cross-in of our networking technologies, where we can now take our silicon and put it into the Spectrum-X platform that they've been building, but also take NVIDIA silicon and bring it into our ecosystem, run our network operating system and our operational tools on top of it, really helping those enterprise customers, giving them flexibility to choose what technologies they want to deploy, and aligning those technologies to their operational model. So if they're already deploying Nexus in their traditional data center, adapting and adopting new AI workloads and building AI infrastructure is simple, fast, and easy for them. And then with our security solution and something that we call Hyperfabric, we're actually trying to make it even easier, to where a lot of the complexity is solved for you by the tools, and customers can focus on building out and running those AI workloads and seeing value out of AI, versus how do I build a fabric, how do I connect these things together, and how do I get it up and running fast.
Yeah, Neil, I'm curious for your perspective here as well. WWT and Cisco have had a storied relationship spanning over 30 years now. And Neil, you've been on the forefront watching it unfold for decades now. How have you seen kind of Cisco rise to the occasion to be where we're at today, where you're at today at GTC, and be able to enable and unlock those AI strategies for clients?
Well, I think, in the early days of AI, and I think we're still very much in the early days here, but a technology like Infiniband is fantastic, right? How innovative. But one of the challenges is our enterprise customers probably don't have the skill sets, right? They don't have experts in that technology. But when you look at Ethernet-based solutions, they've run Cisco Nexus in their data center on Ethernet for a long time. It's a trusted solution. So being able to bring those together is just going to accelerate that for our customers, to be able to adopt what they kind of know. To Kevin's point, they know it, giving some extra tools to continue to simplify that complexity. But I think it's going to accelerate both companies. It's going to accelerate NVIDIA because it's going to make it a little bit less intimidating to adopt an AI cluster for those customers that know and love a Cisco, kind of oriented stack and management capabilities, because they've got the SMEs, right? And they've had them for years. So I'm really bullish on the relationship, and I'm bullish on the partnership between the two, because it's just going to make it, I think, faster adoption for our enterprise customer base.
Yeah, Kevin Deierling, Neil had mentioned the Ethernet aspect here, and part of Jensen's keynote, he also talked about Infiniband and kind of rising both boats there. Any insight into how NVIDIA sees that conversation, whether it's Ethernet or Infiniband, but really just working together to make sure that we're enabling clients where and how they need it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we love all of our children equally, and where customers want one technology or the other, we're happy to provide that. And there's reasons that sometimes people want InfiniBand. They want the higher performance for training or inferencing, and then there's other times that they want the familiarity and the ease of use and the ability to do things that they already understand better. So we're happy to provide both. You saw that with some of the announcements we're making, we're supporting really driving both those technologies forward. So it's fantastic. Some of the Ethernet we really can scale out to very, very large radix on the switches, the number of ports. And so we support both technologies. We love them all.
Yeah, stick with you there, Kevin. What other types of announcements, whether it be product announcements or software or anything of that nature, coming from the NVIDIA side that really have you excited, that you think are going to make an impact in advancing and pushing AI forward in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. We made a bunch of GPU announcements and networking announcements at the component layer, but I think the thing that really is interesting with how we're working with partners on AI is the software. And so we announced something called Dynamo that I mentioned, which is the operating system of an AI data factory. But we have all of these different platforms for different, use cases and different verticals. So whether that's healthcare or financial or oil and gas or simulations or CAD tools, all of those things. We support all of them. We build NIMs, which are NVIDIA Inference Microservices. We package that up as part of the NVIDIA AI Enterprise software, and we're offering that through Cisco. So Cisco supports all of these things. So now you can engage with blueprints and frameworks that the companies that actually do genetics and do protein and drug discovery or healthcare with robotics or whatever the platform is, we give them really a solid set of libraries and blueprints that now they can take their business expertise and build on top of that. They don't have to start from ground zero. We've built that foundation, and now we can offer that through, all of our partners. And Cisco here is a fantastic partner because they have vertical expertise in all of these domains. They know the right people to talk to that you can build on top of. So you're not starting from scratch. We don't just provide a bunch of component level offerings. It's a full stack, including that AI framework software, and that's really important.
Yeah, Neil, certainly a lot of what we're talking about here, innovative announcements, just exciting headlines that are capturing the attention of the enterprise world. But also at the end of the day, there's a lot to digest here. And a lot of what we pride ourselves on here at WWT is simplifying that complex. Can you articulate a little bit about how our enterprise clients, or any organization for that matter, should be approaching all of these news headlines, all of these announcements? Like, what should they be thinking about right now to put themselves in a position to adopt these innovations when they're ready to do so?
Well, I would say first and foremost, you've got to stay informed, and you've got to try to the best of your ability to keep up with the speed of things that are going on. It is enormously difficult. I think at Worldwide Technology, we're very fortunate that it's our full-time job to keep up with that, right? And that's what a fun job to have, first of all. But it is a struggle for our enterprise customers. And I would say, like, you do not have to go this alone, right? You engage partners like NVIDIA, Cisco, ourselves. We can help you along that journey. You do not have to figure this out on your own. There are people that are getting paid to simplify these to the best of our ability and to get you the answers more quickly that you need to move forward with your projects as well. And Kevin, you talked about the NVIDIA software. I think everybody focuses a lot on your GPU technology, right? That's what makes the news, probably driving your stock price, right? But we've got firsthand experience with the software and NIM. And I'll tell you, the blueprints and the modules that come out and the services stack that you're releasing, the libraries Jensen talked about on stage yesterday, it really is phenomenal. Just as an example, like this morning, we were doing a demonstration of a digital avatar, human-like, that you could use in a concession stand to interact with and ask questions. And I asked our development team, like, well, how long did that take to develop? And they literally said 2 days. They pulled in NVIDIA's software, and in 2 days they had this demonstration up and running that's interacting. You can interact with it and ask it questions like it's a human working at a concession stand. And so I think that's the power. And where we've been collaborating with NVIDIA quite a bit on your software stack is bringing these experiences to life and showing customers what can you do with this. And I like to tease some of our guys in the proving ground. I said, it's one thing to show the blinky light demos, go see the data center and see the lights blink on the servers and the networking switches. But it's another one to be able to stand up and look at a digital human avatar and interact with that LLM underneath that and get answers that you need. That's a very different way to experience AI. And so that's where we're going next with, quite frankly, with our proving ground, is showing customers how do you bring these experiences to life.
Yeah, and that's incredibly valuable technology because we can actually take confidential documents. If you're deploying that on-prem, for example, integrate that into that agentic workflow with the digital human there. And so you don't have to put out your documents that you don't want to share. You want to keep confidential. And security is a huge part of what we're doing with Cisco, is making sure that everything's locked up, secure. So it has to be easy, it has to be secure, it has to be efficient. And these AI workloads, that's the killer app that every business has people that now can become more efficient. They can do the basic questions that they don't really enjoy answering. Let a digital agent do that for you. And then you can focus on the higher value add that humans can bring.
Yeah, play that out a little bit. Play that out about, okay, today we're building things in the data center, big focus on networking, on security, on compute, and how all these things come together. But look at Jensen's vision and what he talked about agentic AI eventually moving into physical AI, and all the work we're doing right now to secure those LLMs and the things that we launched this week. As things start to exit outside of the data center, and like one of my sales guys likes to say, like when we have an LLM running in every street light and light post, that's a completely different architecture. And there we have to focus on networking and security and making sure that these AI workloads that are now running freely throughout the world are actually safe, secure, easier to monitor, and easier to manage. And so I think this is the very beginning of what we're going to see in terms of how we can partner together and build technologies that enable AI to continue to expand beyond the walls of the data center as well.
Yeah, well, certainly happy to hear the three of you talk about cyber. Certainly, it's a massive part of the equation here as it relates to unlocking AI. Kevin, I am curious. So Cisco announced Hypershield, which utilizes NVIDIA DPU technology. Talk to us about how that fits under the broader AI security strategy an enterprise might be facing, and how organizations should be thinking about cyber in general, knowing that it's all moving so quickly.
Yeah, it's a great question, because Hypershield was really about changing the way we implement security and networking. We used to use very centralized devices and kind of force all traffic to run through a centralized firewall or other device. As we start to think about this agentic world of, you may have agents all over the place accessing data or resources inside of a data center or outside of a data center, we have to start thinking about how we protect the network in different ways as well. And so with technologies from a company we acquired called Isovalent, something called Cilium, and another thing called eBPF, we can actually get much deeper visibility at the kernel level about the traffic, the type of traffic running through, and then we can apply microsegmentation and policy in a much more distributed way across the network. And with what we just launched this week, we've got a bunch of really high-powered smart NICs and DPUs sitting in a lot of these AI infrastructure components, and we can actually leverage that technology there directly. So we can protect the access to the AI fabric itself. And with another technology that we call AI defense, we can actually help protect the LLMs and the models themselves. And I think as AI proliferates more, and as we move, out of the hyperscale into the enterprise private data center, and then even into that public area with physical AI, the ability to both connect and protect all these technologies is going to become even more relevant.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's important, and we look at it, that we have AI for cyber and we have cyber for AI, and it's kind of a flywheel that closes in on itself, if you will, with AI eating its own tail. So we're excited about that. I think the ability to use AI to secure workloads and also then to have the AI itself secured, all of that is vitally important. The DPUs, our Bluefield is fantastic. It's really a telemetry agent that lets everything know what's going on, and we can detect anomalous behavior. If all of a sudden a person starts firing passwords at the speed of a computer, we can detect, hey, this doesn't make sense. And we can then go and do really more complex, and we can take things and quarantine them. So all of that network management, first you need to know what's going on. You need things encrypted. You need authentication. Really, it's a full stack solution. So exciting, great partners here to make that happen.
The three of you, certainly there at GTC right now, probably having lots of conversations, whether it relates to partners or clients or just anybody that you might be meeting on the show floor. And it could span a wide variety. You could talk about cyber, you could talk about software, GPUs, DPU technology, whatever it might be. I am curious, though, from what you're seeing, are there any common themes in the conversations that you're having in terms of where organizations are at right now along their AI journeys? Or is it's kind of a crapshoot and people are at different spots? Neil, go ahead, start with you.
I think people are definitely at different spots. And I think the common theme that we see when I talk to clients every day is it's early for them, right? They look at the innovation that has happened in the hyperscalers, OpenAI and DeepSeek, all these things. And they're getting mandates from typically right straight from their boardroom. Like, what is our AI strategy? We've got to get a strategy going. We've got to make tangible progress on ROI for our business, or we might be out of business. Like, that's a common theme we hear every day. And they're looking to partners like Worldwide Technology to help them on that journey. Like, you got to move. It's going to continually change. And so there's an urgency, I guess is the way I would sum it up, Brian. There's a sense of urgency in customers that, wow, I need to participate in this. It's not a fad. It's not going away. I got to participate, and I've got to start returning real ROI to my business with this. So getting started, how do I get started on some use cases, some early ones? And we've been suggesting, Kevin, I'm a huge fan of like Codium, for example. Like, everybody has a software team. Everybody needs some AI software assist, like a co-pilot, right? It can improve productivity. It's what I call a kind of a horizontal use case that every organization, I don't care what vertical you're in, you need that capability. Quick win for you as a CIO as well. You can show to your organization, hey, we're moving on AI. Here's a use case that we've solved. And so we announced yesterday sort of a three-way combination between us, NVIDIA, Cisco, and Codium, that we can help them with almost a turnkey solution bundle to get started and solve that problem. That's the kind of thing that I think, Brian, that it's that sense of urgency, and then how do I respond to that? That's a common theme.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really cool about AI is we've seen the democratization of AI. We've seen these grassroots where, yeah, I don't have my corporate plan all figured out yet. My strategy's not there. But at the employee level, people can use this technologies. One of the things we did, we built NVIDIA.ai.com. You can go and just start using these tools, deploy things. It's not hard. And we see that all the time. We see people building RAG agentic workflows that solve real problems. We have internally a chat lab, Alias, that employees go build things and they say, hey, we built this thing for finance, we built this thing for engineering, we built this thing for marketing. And it's fantastic to see that grassroots. And I see that happening in other companies where people just start using things. It's like, hey, look what I did. Can we make this, effectively a tool that we use across the entire company? And so that grassroots democratization of AI is really exciting, that I can see across all kinds of orgs. As you said, there's these horizontal things that every company needs to do. It doesn't matter what vertical you're in. There's just ways that AI is going to make our, sort of the mundane things that we do easier and faster, and it's exciting.
Yeah, and I think the utility that we're starting to see. So I agree. We were here last year, and last year it was about, we all know we need to participate in this AI wave, but a lot of people not knowing exactly what they were going to do. Now we're starting to see the utility that can actually come out of a lot of these applications. So not just helping our engineers write code, but we're seeing a very not too distant future of actually having AI engineers. Jensen talked about this in the keynote as well. You'll have a staff of engineers, and you'll have AI engineers that can write some of that code for you and actually be given tasks and come back with those tasks complete. And then you can start to think about not just doing things more efficiently and getting more done with less, but actually getting to innovation faster. So if your innovation pipeline with your engineering team is call it 5 years to get a certain set of things done, if you can get that stuff done faster, you can actually get to innovation at a faster pace. And it's not just about doing more with less, but it's actually about getting more done and being more productive. And so that part's exciting because I think we're starting to figure out how a lot of these tools will work.
Yeah, I love that Codium example. I think it's a great illustration of taking a practical use case to go from experimentation to implementation as it relates to AI. Kevin Deierling, I'm wondering, are you, or anybody for that matter, are you seeing anything on the show floor right now that would speak to the same ethos there, to go from experimentation to implementation with AI, so that you can start small, bite off some chunks, and start to build that momentum towards a greater AI strategy?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of things. If you look at what Jensen talked about, was the evolution of AI from perception, where it's just figuring out what it's seeing and language, to generative AI, where it's generating things, and now to reasoning AI, and then physical AI. And the thing that really strikes me is how fast this is all moving. The robots out here are incredibly cool. That's what to me is super exciting. And they combine all of these things because they're actually thinking and responding. Whereas last year was sort of canned audio that they were saying, now they're interacting. The robots, you're talking to them and they will do things for you. You can order coffee and things like that. It's crazy. It's really exciting.
Yeah, the great thing is walking around the booths and actually seeing real life examples of things that people are doing with these technologies today. And whether that's the exact thing that you want to go drive in a certain use case, or it gives you thoughts of how you can adapt it and evolve it to what you want to do within your own enterprise. Every enterprise is different. Every enterprise has different data sets, different sets of technology, and different problems they're trying to solve. But I think just being able to walk around and see the innovation and see what people are doing is spurring new ideas all the time. And then you can do things like take it to the AI proving ground and actually test it and try it out on real equipment before you scale it out. So I think this show is great for just giving people ideas, keeping you abreast of some of that massive pace of innovation that we've been talking about, and then giving you ideas of what you can do, what you can evolve, and some thoughts of how you can move forward with your AI dreams.
Yeah, and I agree, Kevin. And I would just add that when I walk around and look, I think one of the things I've seen is that you're starting to get platforms built on top of this, right? Take those common horizontal use cases like software productivity co-pilots, or another one is enterprise search. Everybody needs a basic way for your employees to be more productive finding information inside your company. So, we started partnering with Glean, for example, GLEAN, if you're not familiar with that. It's a cool platform that kind of gets you that basic chatbot up and running really fast and be able to search your enterprise data and correlate it, make sense of it. Used to, you go back a year or so ago, everybody had to build that from scratch, right, themselves. Everyone was custom in a snowflake. Now you're starting to see the emergence of platforms for these common AI use cases. And I think that's just going to really, really continue and accelerate.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. You talked about the fact that we have enterprise search. 25 years ago, the search engines came out, and I was always hoping that the next thing would be find. And it turns out it wasn't. It was videos and maps and other things. And here it is 25 years later, we're still searching. It gives us sort of a winnowed list of things that we might find. Finally, with AI and vector databases and RAG and digital agents, we're going to find things. We're going to have knowledge. We're going to actually be able to query all of our data in an enterprise. That is just the killer app across every business. We're excited to go take this to market with Worldwide Technologies and Cisco. So great times. We got a lot of work to do. So fun stuff.
Okay, today's conversation made it clear. AI at scale isn't just about having the right models. It's about having the right infrastructure, networking, and strategy. I want to thank both Kevins, Kevin Deierling from NVIDIA and Kevin Wollenweber from Cisco, as well as Neil Anderson for taking the time out of their incredibly busy schedules while at NVIDIA GTC to share their insights and wisdom. The takeaway? AI innovation is fun, but AI execution is how enterprises create real impact, drive competitive advantage, and turn bold ideas into business value. Enterprises that build a strong foundation with scalable infrastructure, seamless connectivity, and strategic partnerships will be the ones leading the way. This episode of the AI Proving Ground podcast was also co-produced by Naz Baker, Mallory Shaffrin, Sarah Chiodini, Diane Devery, and Stephanie Hammond. Our audio and video engineer is John Knobloch, and my name is Brian Felt. We will see you next time.